Welcome to Generation Now, where we're talking about some video games, something really interesting that came up. All you Rockstar fans are going to love this. There's been leaked information from Grand Theft Auto 5 by an ex-Rockstar employee who was fired for misconduct. So like any good employee would do that was fired for misconduct, he leaked information. What a guy. So what we know is the protagonist is going to be a man named Albert De Silva. He's going to be a half Hispanic man. He was once part of a crime family in Vice City. We all remember the 80s. And he decided to settle down with his family in Los Santos. So yes, family. He does have a son, and it's going to be the first time there's actually children in, Grand Theft Auto, because it's bad to murder them apparently. Yeah, but pretty much his son is like a first-person shooter freak, kind of useless, kind of sits around and plays video games all day, and he looks up to his dad, so that's all the better, right? Multiplayer is going to hold 32 people on Xbox and PlayStation 3, so yes, they're going to be on both consoles. For the computer, there's probably going to hold more people, because that's usually how it goes anyway. Difference is from the last Grand Theft Auto 4, multiplayer was your death matches, and of course you had free roam. This time you can form gangs, and you can get ranked up, and you can have gang leaders, and they can set people's ranks and all that good stuff. And you can also have hideouts, do missions, rob banks, all that good stuff. The map is going to be 5 times larger than GTA 4, which hopefully, like San Andreas, there's going to be Los Santos, San Fierro, and Las Venturas. Maybe, not entirely sure. That's my own little, throw on that. But it's going to be bigger, and it's going to be. It even says it's going to be separated into 3 different districts. So we'll see what happens. There's going to be planes that range from World War II fighter planes to private jets, because we all know we miss flying. Gunfights are supposed to be more realistic, which are already pretty realistic in Grand Theft Auto 4, and some people were complaining about it being too realistic from what it sounds like, but forget them anyway. Another thing to mention is radio stations are now going to give traffic reports, which would be pretty interesting, but it also sounds like they're going to cause kind of a problem in a way. Instead of just driving away from the cops, you're going to have to listen for traffic jams and stuff. So that means they implemented traffic jams and other stuff like that, which whatevs. Another thing to mention is they're going to, you can get pulled over by the police, you get wanted stars for speeding. Yeah, I don't know if that's true or not, but if it is, I like driving my cars fast, man. That's how I roll. One more thing, drugs. Yeah, you can do drugs if you want to. Also going to be an underground, black market that you can pretty much, add to and stuff by selling and buying and doing all that stuff. Supply and demand. Economics. The game is also supposed to be due in May 2013, so we got another year. Enough for the rumor wagon. The next thing I want to talk about is the Fall of the Samurai, the Shogun thing I mentioned before, but I finally got a chance to play it. Actually, I spent all weekend playing it because it had good of a game. The first thing to mention is it takes place in the 1800s, 1850s, and so forth on, which makes it the latest period of any Total War game. During the Boshin Wars, which is when the civil war between Japan and the Japanese emperor is trying to get his power back from the shogunate, because for hundreds of years the shogun has had more power than the emperor. He's kind of just like a cultural symbol than anything else. So that plays in effect. You pick your side if you're going to fight for the shogunate or the emperor. And also you can, if you're that much of a jerk, you can switch allegiances, which kind of shocked me when I saw the option. Another big part of that whole era is the Western powers intervention. France, Britain, the Dutch, the United States, they're pretty much pushing Japan to modernize, so you will see that in the game. You'll build railroads, there'll be modernization, it'll make traditional Japanese citizens angry, so you got to keep them in check. Another thing to mention is, well, first off, the Last Samurai movie, Tom Cruise, great movie. They had that whole myth about it being old against new. In reality, both sides actually were trying to modernize and get modern firearms and all that good stuff, which you can get. You can get Gatling guns, your single-shot muskets or whatever they had. Flintlock, that's what they were. Sorry, matchlock. Not a gun expert here. Some of the mechanics they implement into the game, which is pretty cool, is there's coastal bombings, and they can bomb stuff offshore. And also another thing that's really cool with that is even on the battle map, you can call in bombardments onto the battle map to hit your enemies at an even further distance than your cannons could even reach, or anything like that, which scares them. And that's what it's all about, breaking the will to fight. And also the railroads really do come in handy. They actually switched the whole a turn a season from the original Shogun to 6 turns a season. So it's a great game, especially if you love Total War games and Shogun 2 in general. But yeah, it's 30 bucks. It is totally worth it. You get it retailed or on Steam. I'm going to personally give it an 8 out of 10 because it has been nothing but amazing, and you get your bang for your buck. One last thing I want to talk about is it's always good to give independent developers their due. There's a game called Ikariam. You can go to Ikariam.com, all that good stuff. It is a browser-based massive multiplayer online game of the strategy genre. It's produced by and maintained by GameForge AG. Don't know what AG stands for. But the game is set in classical Greece in an archipelago, and every player is a ruler of a town, and it's up to you to expand and lead this town, into a bigger city and eventually into an empire. You send your citizens off to gather resources. There's 4 different kinds of resources. And, wine makes them happy, crystals do stuff, sulfur makes weapons, certain weapons. And, of course, wood, the universal tool for all RTS games, wood. We love it. So the aim of the game is pretty much to expand, conquer your enemies, or pacify them in other means. And I've been pacified a few times. That game can be pretty complex. You can also wage war on anybody you want, which means anybody can wage war on you if they want. And makes it real interesting. Join those alliances that keep you alive, especially when your alliance members have over 1 million points. But yeah, you send your citizens to gather resources, research things, because researching is another big thing, and you can build humongous armies, navies. It's kind of, I don't know if you want to call it fantasy or not, just throw some kind of, goofy, humorous, comedic, whatever, throws into it by making like steam machines and stuff that ancient Greece did not have, obviously. But yeah, the game's interesting. It's free, by the way, so free is always good, unless you want to pay for some extra, in-game bonuses like cut wood at 20% extra speed and all that good stuff. Another thing to mention is everything's in real time, so you'll find yourself telling you to build something, and of course later in the game it's going to take longer to build things. So you're going to tell your game to build something, and it's going to be like 3 hours before it's done. So you can go off and do non-computer things, or just search Facebook for 3 hours and come back for more. Seems, but it's actually super fun, and play it. We need more people, please. But yeah, I would probably rate this a 7 out of 10. Give you something to do while you're supposed to be working. Did I say that out loud? Anyway, this has been Generation Now, our video game segment. Hope you enjoyed it.